Christmas is the most contemplative time of the year. This time, we at HafenTV are looking for the most beautiful winter stories, and we will show you how the port is getting ready for the festive season. Our Christmas journey through the port of Hamburg starts in the middle of the river Elbe. Usually the port works round the clock. The terminals never really stand idle. But just before Christmas and during the festive season, there is, of course, time for some quiet and peaceful moments. To make sure that everything is perfectly organized, Father Christmas is pulling all the stops long before Christmas Eve. As the time for bag loads of presents hasn't arrived yet, he delights seafarers with plenty of Christmas trees.
Merry Christmas!
How many Christmas trees have we got? I'm not quite sure. I think all in all about 40. Have the ships all been good? The ships, well, that's not always easy to say, but the ship masters and the crew, well, their behavior usually is up to scratch. And do you decorate the trees as well? Do you help? No, that's the job of my dwarfs and elves. I'm only in charge of the throwing technique. For everything else, I have my helpers. What do you do for the rest of the year? What do you do apart from throwing Christmas trees and being busy at Christmas? I'm something like an athlete, you see. Athletes also practice all year long, and at the Olympic Games they're ready to perform. It's rather the same for me. Throwing technique, warming up and the whole program. And off fly the trees through the air. Using a perfected throwing technique, he almost never misses his target. Dear Father Christmas, has there ever been a mishap? Well, as straight as fir trees grow, there indeed are no mishaps. But once a tree landed in the water. Just once? That's right, pretty good score, isn't it? And sometimes Father Christmas even has the Christmas trees float through the air to make sure that every ship and every crew get their tree. We will tell you later exactly how he does that and who helps him. But first I want to know more about what happens in the port during Christmas. Where do the crews celebrate? And when do the dockers work? To learn more about all that, I asked Hamburg's Harbormaster, Jörg Pollmann. He knows virtually every ship and everything that happens in the port. Would you tell us how the port celebrates Christmas? Well, for many crew members, day-to-day work on board goes on as usual, of course. Work in the port stops on only 5 days in the year. Christmas Eve, ushers in Christmas, and work stops at noon. Only the processing of ships that can be readied in the afternoon for departure in the evening will be finalized. Otherwise, work stops. Nobody works on the 25th of December, and on the 26th, it'll be back to work as usual. So the crew members who are in the port over Christmas will also be able to enjoy a day of rest. Of course, the missions for seafarers are sought after during that time. There are quite a number of them at Duckdalben, for example. They organize Christmas parties and many seamen go there. So apart from working on board the ship, they also have something to look forward to, a Christmas party. And I think that's quite nice. I know that from experience. Once I was in Sandhurst over Christmas. We were at anchor there and went to the mission for seafarers. The nice thing about it is that it's multicultural. We were all sitting together, celebrating Christmas and enjoying ourselves, which actually is a wonderful experience. Not so much with regard to the Christian aspect, more with regard to being together. He sailed the seas for many years and often was away from home for months at a stretch. At Christmas in particular, he longed for his family that was so far away. Mr. Pollmann, you sailed the seas for 12 years and you probably saw a lot. How did you celebrate Christmas? Well, it was always different. Actually, during my days at sea, I was more often on board at Christmas than at home. Not because I didn't want to be with my family. I always tried to be home during the summer and be on board during the winter. It simply seemed the better choice. How was it? Celebrating Christmas at sea is certainly totally different from celebrating it on land. Yes, of course, it's completely different. Above all, I always sailed the world's oceans on big vessels. If I was on board at Christmas, I was in South America, in Asia, or somewhere on the Atlantic or Pacific. And that was, of course, different. Christmas usually means a bit of cold, a bit of frost, a bit of snow. But when you're on board and it's 30 degrees Celsius and you're running around in shorts and you can't display a chocolate Christmas man because it melts on the spot, then that certainly is a different Christmas. How does the Christmas tree get on board? Actually, that's quite funny. In Hamburg, we have this nice tradition that Christmas trees are distributed before Christmas. We sometimes organized a Christmas tree 6 to 8 weeks in advance. When we knew there were Christmas trees available, we took one along. But it certainly would have had no needles left when Christmas finally came around. So we put the tree in the cold room and deep froze it. Ships often carry food to last for 6 months. They have vegetable rooms and, of course, large deep freeze rooms where the meat is kept, and that's where we put the Christmas tree in. A few days before Christmas, we pulled it out and placed it somewhere. That worked quite well.
Das funktioniert eigentlich ganz gut.
On board the Cap San Diego, children enjoy a very special treat during the festive season. At the 4 weekends prior to Christmas, the world's largest seaworthy museum freighter turns into a true fairy tale ship full of stories. The children and their parents storm the ship in small groups. With a sleeping bag tucked underneath their arm and a cap on their head, they descended into the large belly of the ship, where a very special ambience is waiting for them. In the unheated hold of Hatch 1, 39 hammocks are slowly swinging back and forth. After the children are comfortably tucked in, they all listen to a Christmas story.
Stürzte Mr. Moos auf unser Haus im Finkenwaldweg.
In the evening of the third Advent, Mr. Moos crashed on our house at Finkenwaldweg. In the Advent season, we always sing and make music, which is why we were in the living room. Kiki, my sister, was sitting at the piano. Mom was playing the flute and I was in charge of singing. The air smelled of orange peels, which Mom had put on the central heating. The window glass reflected the warm glow of candles, and outside snow was falling quietly and softly. I felt very Christmassy. From heaven above, O angels come, I sang as best as I could. But it wasn't the angels coming from heaven, it was Mr. Moos. With an ear-splitting crash, he came bursting through the ceiling.
Ein ohrenbetäubendes Krachen ertönte und im nächsten Augenblick stürzte auch schon durch die Zimmerdecke.
Today, it's actress Miriam Hensel's turn to read to the children. The story about the elk crashing through the ceiling lasts for about an hour. The story is quite cute. It's about a reindeer that bursts through the ceiling and a beautiful friendship that is developing between the boy who tells the story and the elk. And Father Christmas appears too, of course. How do you choose the books? We work together with a publisher, or we choose books that we like and think might be suitable for the ship. It doesn't have to be a Christmas story. Something to do with winter is fine too. And Father Christmas does not necessarily have to appear.
Und also es muss nicht immer der Weihnachtsmann drin vorkommen.
And how did you like it? It was fabulous, absolutely fabulous. What's so special here? That you lie in hammocks with the sleeping bags and all that. The story reading for children has been offered for 8 years now. Every year, the Cap San Diego team prepares the ship for the fairy tale days. Oh yes, the seamen are rather busy hanging all the hammocks under deck. And then we all try them out once to make sure it's all safe and looks good. Indeed, it's quite a lot of work. How did it all come about? I mean, what was different 8 years ago compared with today? Actually, nothing much has changed. I initiated it 8 years ago because I very much wanted to offer children something on board in the Advent season. And as it is extremely difficult to heat the holes, I had the idea with the hammocks and sleeping bags, and that's a lot of fun. And it's a brilliant idea. Can parents come along too? Parents can join their children in the hammock, and that's what they do. In the first year, I thought, okay, perhaps parents do not need to come along, and I only let the children in. But then I had to offer 2 late evening performances for parents. Back to Father Christmas on the Elbe and the flying Christmas trees. Unfortunately, our Father Christmas has no magical powers. With the help of a crane at the dry dock, the Christmas tree is being lifted on board a cruise ship. Very soon, a lot of Christmas trees have found a new owner. The Flying Christmas Tree project, which is unique in the world, was initiated in 1997. We have been distributing Christmas trees in the Port of Hamburg for 16 years now, and you could say it's become a tradition. Of course, we hope it will continue for at least another 16 years. Being a father myself, I know the feeling of not being home at Christmas. I think a little tree will provide some comfort, some joy that they can take along on board. A nice tradition, and Father Christmas intends to be back here in the port of Hamburg next year to continue it.
Merry Christmas!
By the way, more than 29 million Christmas trees are sold in Germany every year. Have fun decorating it. Have a wonderful Christmas, and we hope to see you again in 2 weeks' time for our grand year and finals and best of show.